Okay, everybody, good evening. Thank you for taking the time to come and join us this evening. There does seem to be a little bit of an issue with the camera at the moment, so you probably can't see me, which we're trying to get fixed. So I'm going to get started anyway, so obviously if you can all hear me, that's okay. And then hopefully the camera will get fixed along the way, okay? If there are any questions that come up along the way, please feel free to ask in the chat box. If I don't answer your question immediately, please don't be offended. It just means that probably I'm going to answer it later on in the presentation, but yeah, I will answer questions as and when they come up, as they're relevant to what we're talking about. So firstly, just let me introduce myself. My name is Brian Swash, and I work at British Study Centres in Manchester. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 19 years now. I'm also a teacher trainer on Celta courses, and I've been doing that for about 10 years now. And I've been working with British Study Centres for the past 18 months. So today, what we're going to do is have a look at why basically do the Celta course. We're also going to have a look at opportunities that are available after the Celta. And then look at some other teacher training courses that we offer here at British Study Centres. Obviously, we don't just have the school in Manchester, there are lots of other centres that we have throughout the UK as well. And then there's the offer at the end. So, first of all, why do the Celta course? Well, there are if you look on the internet, there are lots of teacher training courses out there. And you know, if you put into Google TEFL teaching course, you'll get lots and lots of different courses that come up. Lots of different prices as well. Some of them are quite cheap. They range maybe from between 150 to 200 pounds. Obviously, the Celta course is about 1,500 pounds, depending on the centre. So there can be quite a big difference in the prices between some of these courses. So obviously then, why choose the Celta if there are lots of other courses out there that are a lot cheaper? What's the point in choosing the Celta? Well, there are two key main differences between some of those other cheaper courses and obviously the Celta course. On other courses, if you look at the screen, it says trainers have all qualified as TEFL teachers themselves, gained years of actual teaching experience, and are now passing on their working knowledge to our TEFL course students. Okay, so basically what that means, obviously they've got trainers who obviously used to be teachers and have got lots of teaching experience. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that these trainers have had specific training in order to become a teacher trainer. And I'm going to use a driving analogy here. It says they gained years of actual teaching experience. Now, very often, if you think about when you learn how to drive, okay, when you're taking your lessons, when you do your tests, you follow the rules exactly. You know, you've got your hands in the right position on the steering wheel, you're checking your mirrors when you're supposed to check your mirrors. Once you've passed your test, those things become less important. And, you know, that sometimes happens with teaching as well. Sometimes as teachers get more experience, you know, they start to cut corners. And so, you know, a teacher having lots of teaching experience doesn't necessarily mean that they will make a good trainer of other teachers. However, on the Celta course, it's a very rigorous process that trainers must go through before they can start working on Celta courses. Okay, so a Celta trainer has to have a minimum of 5 years classroom-based ELT experience, preferably in more than one context. So that means preferably in more than one country, teaching in different contexts. So it might be teaching in a university, teaching in a private language school. They need to have experience of teaching a range of levels, so everything from beginners to advanced to proficiency, including in that exam classes, English for specific purposes. So lots and lots of different ranges of courses are needed as well. They also need to have the minimum of a Delta qualification. Now in the UK, the Delta is a level 7 qualification. A level 7 qualification in the UK is equivalent to a master's level, of study. Okay, so that's what a Celta trainer needs to have, and they also need to have evidence of professional commitment to personal and professional development. So staff development in-house, attending conferences, etc. So there's a lot that goes into being a Celta trainer, and a lot of work that is required before you can actually get there. So that's the one key difference. Now another key difference is that on some of the other courses. Sorry, Geralda, can you not hear me okay? Can everybody else hear okay? Okay, perfect. Okay, so maybe Geralda, maybe if you try to log out and come back in again, that might help, and see if you can then hear everything okay. Oksana, do you have a question? Okay, no problem, Oksana. Okay. So the other main difference that we were talking about in the difference between some of the other TEFL courses that you can do and the Celta course is this. Now on some other teacher training courses, it says you will get the opportunity to learn through group work and gain peer-to-peer teaching experience. Okay, a lot of them will advertise that they have teaching practice involved in their course, when in fact the actual teaching practice is practicing teaching on your peers. Now obviously again I'm going to liken this to a driving analogy. Imagine if you learn how to drive but you don't actually get the chance to use a car. So you can read about all about the instructions about how to use the pedals, what to do with your mirrors, etc. But unless you actually get the practical experience, it's very difficult to do. Now with peer-to-peer teaching, you are getting a practice of teaching, but your peers will probably speak the same language as you, so it's very easy for them to be able to understand and to give you the answers. However, on a Celta course, the trainees have to complete 6 hours of assessed teaching practice on non-native speakers. Okay, so that means that basically they're teaching real live students as it would be in a classroom. So basically, it's giving real life experience, and you're being assessed while doing this. So that means obviously, if things don't quite work out as you expected, you've got the advice there of the trainer who's assessing you, and you can help you and then give you some feedback and give you some action points then to build on with future lessons that you do. You also have to do on the Celta course 6 hours of observations of experienced classroom teachers. So you will get to see teachers in the centre teaching lessons again to real students, so you'll get to see how it actually works in real life. Okay, so this is the kind of the major difference. So the major difference is basically Celta courses. The Celta trainers are extremely qualified. They've had to go through a lot of work to become a trainer. They can't just change suddenly from being a teacher into a trainer. And then the teaching practice that you get on a Celta course is basically like a real life situation. You won't be teaching on your peers, you will be teaching students, you'll be doing a full lesson and then getting feedback from an experienced trainer on what you did well, and then some action points that you can then take forward into future lessons. Okay, so basically then the Celta course, so if you do the Celta course and you're successful at the end of it, what opportunities are available to you after this? Well, let's have a look. So the Celta is recognised worldwide. It's recognised all over the world. Once you've got your Celta certificate, you'll be able to look for work in British Council accredited language schools around the world, in the UK, in other countries. So yeah, you'll have lots of opportunities to look for work in lots of different countries. It also opens up opportunities for working in universities on foundation courses. A lot of students want to come to the UK or other English-speaking countries to go on to do further education. In order to do this, they need to obviously have a certain level of English, and some universities will accept them onto foundation courses before they are accepted onto the course properly. Gina, are there any Celta courses throughout Eastern Europe? Yes, there are Celta courses throughout the world. There are lots and lots of different courses in different countries all over the world. So yeah, I certainly know, for example, in Poland, in Russia, different companies run Celta courses. We ran courses last year for the first time in Kyrgyzstan. Romania, yes, there are courses. We don't, British Study Centres don't run courses in Romania at the moment, but yes, there are Celta courses that are run out in Romania, yes, yeah. So yes, obviously you'll get the opportunity possibly to work on foundation courses. You can also then go on to do further qualifications. If you want to make a career out of it, you can then go on and do the Delta, which, as I said a little earlier, is a level 7, qualification, which is kind of equivalent to a master's. Once you've done the Delta, that then opens up other opportunities, such as, for example, going into teacher training, working on Celta courses, getting into the management side, into academic management and becoming director of studies or assistant director of studies and things like that. Another possibility is writing materials for publishers. Obviously, when we teach our classes, we use lots of different course books from different publishers. A lot of EFL teachers as well will, actually make their own materials, and it can be quite interesting. And if you're quite creative, it's a good way to start to make your own materials. And if that's something that interests you, then once you've got a few years experience, you can then get into the publishing side of it, and then obviously get some of your materials published as well. Even write your own course book from scratch is another possibility as well. You could even set up your own private language school. Once you've got the qualification and a bit of experience. A former colleague of mine now owns his own language school out in Japan, and he's doing very well over there. So yeah, there's another opportunity that could be available to you. And also you've got the possibility nowadays of teaching online. This is obviously becoming more and more popular nowadays, and there are lots of companies that advertise for teachers to teach obviously from the comfort of their own home. You could be teaching students out in China or lots of different places, all from the comfort of your own home. But obviously, if you've got the Celta course behind you, it will make you feel more confident, because obviously you'll be working a lot on your own doing that with not as much support as you would be working in a school. So yeah, that's another possibility as well. So let's now have a look at the Celta course in a bit more detail and some of the different ways you can do it. Now, to do the Celta course, there are kind of two main ways that you can do it. You can do a face-to-face Celta course. The face-to-face Celta courses are basically over 4 weeks and 5 days a week. So again, different centres will do it in slightly different ways, but it's basically Monday to Friday. Also, the working day will go from 9 to 5. Okay, so basically you'll be in the centre, whichever centre you choose, you'll be in that centre 5 days a week from 9 to 5. During that time, you'll be learning things about methodology, about phonology, about language, and also you'll be observing some of the experienced teachers teach their lessons. And also you'll be doing your teaching practice sessions as well and getting feedback on those. Now, the Celta course, one of the key things, it is very, very intensive. Over the 4-week period, there will be a minimum of 120 contact hours between yourself and the course tutors, which is quite a lot of time. So you know it is very pressurized. It can be quite stressful, but you know the people who do this course, they've got a goal, they've got an aim in mind, got something that they want to achieve at the end of it. So all in all, you know, it makes it a more pleasurable experience. One of the key things I think personally to being successful on a Celta course is having good time management skills and being organised. You know, if you can manage your time well and manage your time effectively and look ahead and plan your schedule effectively, it's not as stressful as it needs to be. You know, obviously there are deadlines which need to be met, obviously lessons which need to be taught at particular times. So if you can plan your time effectively and meet all of those deadlines, it's much less stressful than it actually needs to be. Cambridge Assessment, which obviously are the kind of organisers of the Celta course, they also recommend that candidates do an extra 80 hours of self-study during this time as well. Now, again, that sounds quite a lot over the 4 weeks. It's basically 200 hours over 4 weeks. Now, that self-study, that kind of includes, obviously, that would be in the evenings after 5 p.m. So that includes, you know, planning your lessons, doing the written assignments, doing any background reading, any research that you need to successfully complete the written assignments, and also maybe any research that you need to do if you're teaching a particular grammar point. You might need to research that. So that's kind of what that 80 hours of self-study incorporates. So that's one way you can do it, is, as I said, is face-to-face. Another way you can do it is some centres will offer an online Celta course. Now, the online course can be done in a number of ways, and it depends on the centre. The way we do it here in Manchester is it runs over 14 weeks. Where the face-to-face course, obviously you need to come in and you will be taught things about methodology and, as I said, phonology and things like that. On the online course, this is all done online. So each week you will be set a number of units which you need to complete, and then obviously this information then will help you then to do the teaching practice. The only time you actually need to come into the centre is to do your teaching practice lessons. So you probably only actually need to come into the centre once a week. Online courses as well, we had a candidate, I think it was last year, on our online course who wasn't even based in the Manchester area. She was actually in another country, and she would come in, she would fly in just to do her teaching practice sessions and then go out again. So, you know, if you've got you know, other like jobs and other things that you know, you can't get a holiday or a break from for 4 weeks, the online Celta might be another way for you to be able to complete the Celta course. Okay, so that's a little bit of information about the Celta course itself. Now, here at British Study Centres, we do offer other teacher training courses as well. I've mentioned a couple of times already the Delta. The Delta is obviously post-Celta qualification. So once you've got a bit of experience of teaching, Cambridge Assessment normally recommends a minimum of 2 years post-Celta. So once you've done your Celta, you've got 2 years teaching experience at least. You are then eligible then to go on and do a Delta course. And as I said, doing a Delta course then opens up many more opportunities for you within the industry. So you can then go on to teacher training, getting into the academic management side of it. So all of those opportunities would be available to you after the Delta. We also do a number of courses as well that are intended for non-native speakers of English who are actually teachers of English. So the first one is a primary methodology and language course. Now this is an intensive 2-week course and it's aimed at non-native English teachers. And it's based around the principles and practice of teaching to younger learners, so kind of primary age level learners. We also have the advanced language and methodology course. Again, this is an intensive 2-week course, and again it's for people who are already teachers of English. And this is to raise awareness and to consolidate awareness of the principles and practices of teaching English to secondary school students and adult learners. Okay, so that's another course. We also have a primary CLIL course. Now CLIL stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning. And this is basically, it's aimed at teachers who are teaching in their own countries, but who have to teach different subjects in English. So, for example, you might be working in, say, for example, a school in Spain, a Spanish state school. You might be a geography teacher, but you have to deliver a certain amount of that course in the English language. So that is what this kind of course is aimed at. And obviously the primary CLIL is aimed at teachers who are teaching at primary level. And then we also have the secondary CLIL, which is aimed at teaching obviously at secondary level, and also focuses on certain areas of language development for classroom management and instruction, obviously in English. We also run courses on using technology in the classroom. Again, this is an intensive 2-week course, and the aim is to increase knowledge and awareness of how technology can be used and how it can be used effectively in English language teaching. And finally, there is a course on modern British culture. And this course is not just about modern British culture, but it's designed for secondary and higher education teachers who want to kind of integrate a little bit more about British culture into their classrooms. You know, again, a lot of the course books focus on bad British food and weather raining in the UK. It's not the only thing that happens. So, you know, there's lots of other things and lots of other ways that you can integrate ideas about British culture into your classes. So this course will give you some ideas and some tips about how to integrate those ideas into your teaching and your classes. Okay. Now, there is a link here, which I think you should have already received. Now, this link will give you access to a 5% discount on any of the teacher training courses at a British Study Centre school. So obviously, if you are interested in any of the courses that we've just mentioned, maybe from the Celta to any of the others, obviously you can go to the British Study Centre's website and get more information about the courses there and see which of the centres in the UK for British Study Centres actually run these courses, and then you have the possibility of getting a 5% discount with this link on the course. Okay, well, I think that's all the information that I need to give you for the moment. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? Okay, I think Arlind is typing at the moment. Okay, Arlind asks, can I attend the course in my country, Kosovo? Do you mean the Celta course, Arlind? Okay, I'll be completely honest with you. I honestly don't know whether they do Celta courses in Kosovo. I think the best thing to do would be to go to the Cambridge English website, and on there you'll find a list of all the different places that actually run Celta courses. No problem, you're welcome. Okay, so Oksana asks, does enrolling for the course involve getting selected because there is a selection procedure in Moscow? Yes, there is quite a rigorous interview process. We don't just accept anybody onto a Celta course. So obviously here at British Study Centres, there's obviously, first of all, there's the application, and there are some pre-interview tasks which need to be completed. Once the application and the pre-interview tasks, so basically the pre-interview task is a language task, and there's also a written element to it as well. Once that has been received by the centre, that gets assessed. If the person who assesses that application thinks that the level is appropriate for a Celta course, we will then invite that person in for an interview. If the person is not local to the centre, the interview can be done via Skype. After that, after then we have the face-to-face interview. If everything goes well, also at the face-to-face interview as well, there are some more tasks which need to be completed. Again, there's another written task and another language task. The reason we give you another task at the interview is to see how you deal with writing in real time. Obviously, the pre-interview task, you can take as long as you want to do that task. You could possibly even get someone else to help you do it. We've got no idea whether you do that yourself or not. So obviously at the interview stage, we get you to do it in real time. And the reason we get you to do that is because there is a written component. There are 4 written assignments which need to be completed during the Celta course. So, we need to make sure that the candidates have an appropriate level of written English in order to successfully complete the course. We don't just accept anybody onto the course just to fill up places. We will only accept people that we feel are going to be successful at the end of the 4 weeks. Hossam, you asked how can we get more paid in online course? Do you mean by teaching courses online, Hossam? And sorry, Gina, you asked as well about does the discount apply to the online Celta course? As far as I'm aware, Gina, the discount applies to any of our teacher training courses. So yes, I would imagine so. Yes. Okay, no problem, Oksana. You're welcome. Hossam, so how can we get more paid in online courses? Again, it depends. Lots of different companies will offer different rates for teaching online. Again, you would have to check with the actual companies what their package is and what they offer for actually teaching. Okay, does anybody else have any other questions? Hi Hassan. Yeah, no, I think I answered Gina's question. The price for the online Celta course at British Study Centres, if you go to the British Study Centres website, and if you click on teacher training, it should give you the different options of different courses. So if you find the Celta online course, you should then be able to find the different centres that do it here at British Study Centres. Obviously, we do it here at Manchester. So I'm there. It just doesn't work on starting date. Okay, bear with me 1 second, Gina. Let me see if I can find it on here. Hi Gina, yeah, sorry, I was just having a quick look. As far as I'm aware, it's £1,440 for the online Celta course. That's certainly what it is for the course here at Manchester. Other centres might vary slightly, but it wouldn't vary that much. Okay, Oksana, you've asked, does the Celta certification give access to teaching at British public schools, primary, secondary, to non-UK EU citizens? No, unfortunately it doesn't give access to work at state schools in the UK. But as I mentioned earlier, you could potentially get work in universities, working on foundation courses, and other courses which are like English for specific purposes. But for British primary and secondary schools, no, you would need a different qualification in order to do that. No problem. You're welcome, Oksana. Okay, looks like we've got a couple more questions coming through. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to fire away. Okay, so Oksana, you asked, what's the trend of Celta Delta courses over the past couple of years? Can you clarify just what do you mean by trend exactly? Okay, how popular they are. Again, it goes in waves. It all depends, really. You tend to find the Celta, certainly the Celta courses tend to be busier during the summer months. So June, July, August. So any courses kind of running around that time of year tend to be quite popular. And I think part of the reason for that is obviously in the UK, certainly it's the university break during that time. So we do get lots of university students who want to come and do the course. Outside of that time, the courses do tend to be a little bit quieter, but I mean, we run courses every month here in Manchester. Yeah, we have, as I said, we have courses running here every month, and we have candidates on courses each month. So yeah, they are quite popular, and we get a range of people on the courses as well. We get people, some people who have previous teaching experience, people who don't have teaching experience, people who are looking for a change of career and want to do something completely different. People who are working, who already have a qualification to work in state schools in the UK, but obviously are dealing with students who don't have English as a first language. So they come to us and look for some kind of guidance and some techniques that they can then use teaching in primary or secondary schools. So yeah, we do get quite a wide range, of people from different backgrounds onto the courses, yeah. No problem, you're welcome, Oksana. Okay, well, I think we've got a few more minutes left, so if anybody has any questions, this is your kind of final opportunity to ask them. As I said, don't forget the link. If you want to look at some of the courses that we have to offer here at British Study Centres, and as I said, if you do book using this link, you will then get a 5% discount on that course. Okay, well, it doesn't look like there are any other questions coming through. So I'm going to say thank you all very much for taking the time to join me this evening. I hope it's been useful. I hope you've got the information that you expected to get. And yes, hopefully I may see you actually in person soon. On one of the courses here. So thank you again for taking the time and take care. Thank you. Okay, good, Oksana. I'm glad it was very helpful. Okay, thank you. That's it then. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.